think that I'm racist against Kamala Harris, and I'm not, or whatever. I was all for Kamala Harris. If you look in my previous history or whatever, I even like voted them in when it came to uh, my opinion or whatever. And my opinion does matter, even though I'm not a voter or whatever. Even though I could vote legally, vote in Canada or whatever, and potentially I could legally vote as a dual citizen as well. I just have never used that right, and they do say that use it or lose your right or whatever. You know what I mean? But I do have that right or whatever, believe it or not. But what is it called? I choose not to use it really. I'm kind of like busy on my own thing, but I do really want to use that right in the future. But I did use that right, sort of, and I did influence the votes towards Joe Biden as well as Kamala or whatever at the end of the day or whatever when it came to my family or whatever because I wanted to change or whatever. So I'm not racist against Kamala. And what is it called? And what is it called? I even spent during the debates. I think like I did like one of my biggest pizza purchases in a long time was during Kamala or during the Kamala Harris or was it Joe Biden and I think it was Joe Biden and Donald Trump that I did the pizza or whatever. Actually, I think I had pizza and wings or something or pasta or whatever from Domino's and all that. Like once again, and Domino's is just a certain night, but when like the night I had it, it hit hard. That Domino's. So it was a really good. So I wouldn't have invested that money. I could have spent that money on anything. They're going to say, "Oh, so what? You buy Domino's for this event or whatever and all that." Well, it's kind of like a tradition I've had in my house, not my mom's tradition, not my brother's tradition. It's my tradition or whatever to buy these certain or had been. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I used to do a lot of traditional big feasts or whatever. And what is it called? But it could have been spent on many other things. But I chose to sit down and watch that and be educated and everything. And that was my personal choice or whatever. So I don't mind Kamala Harris, and I think she's doing all right. Like I said, I never recorded it, but I had said before that Kamala Harris reminded me of like a vice principal or a principal, not a vice principal, sorry, but like a principal at a high school. That's what I had said. I was like, uh, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden remind me of two fresh of principals and vice principals, but they're vice president and the president. So it's a little bit different, but that's what they reminded me of. And I knew they were going to be like, ready to go. Kamala seems very fresh. That's what I thought when I first seen her. I was like, she looks very fresh. And Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's going to keep that, you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? It's not all the way go, 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 Kamala. Okay. But I do support Kamala, but to a certain extent. But I do support Joe. So it's a little evening out. It's kind of like that mixing pot they were looking for, and and everybody and everything like that. And believe it or not, everyone thinks Joe is the most like uh, what do you call it? I think I misunderstood Joe Biden for a little while until I watched some of his things. Like I didn't understand the Islamophobia word until quite recently. People Islamophobia when I first looked at it. Uh, what is it called? And they try to make it look like it's a certain thing, but the way I got it is a little bit different or whatever. It's like they're holding this combat Islamophobia. Be scared of Islamic people or whatever if you're scared of Islamic people or whatever. Now, I've never met any scary Islamic people in real life. It wasn't Islamic people that really scared me. That's my honest thing. That's another fake thing that people put out about me is that I said that what is it called? Like what is it called? That I have something against Islamic people, but no, it's this. It's mostly this. The I've never seen any bad Islamic people because I did a full like runaround or tour or whatever. Like I was in Toronto and Brampton and stuff. I went to different places, so I've met a lot of Islamic people. I've eaten at a lot of Islamic places. I've talked to a lot of Islamic people. I've walked out, I've met a lot of Islamic people or whatever. I learned a lot. I've even read Islamic scriptures or whatever, books or whatever, and learned about it. I've watched Islamic videos or whatever. I never seen any aggressive Islamic people like people say or whatever, or scared of it. It was mostly the only encounter I had was an aggressive Spanish person that was watching too much Pablo Escobar on Netflix. And that's one thing I got to warn you about is that Pablo Escobar on Netflix. Like, don't fall into that Pablo Escobar on Netflix. It's just a TV show. Okay? Like, it doesn't have to be like that. Okay? Not for everyone. I guess some people. But it's never had to be that way for me. I have usually, like, I'm the guy that I go to the butcher. Okay? I pay a man to butcher my meat. I don't have to kill the pig myself. It's been like that for our family for years and years and years. We do not, and we still, and people are going to say, you know how much money you'd save killing a pig yourself and da da da. Well, it's worth the troubles, okay, to hire the butcher because that's what the butcher does. This is their business. They got to understand, well, I don't, and then you high value their butcher. It's like you got to understand these butchers, like, this is what they do for a living or whatever, and that's what they do. And that's their job is to butcher or whatever, and that's we pay a butcher to butcher our meat or whatever. I do specifically. So there's a guy that butchers my meat or whatever. I don't butcher my own meat. Some people butcher their own meat. Some people don't hire a butcher and they kill the animal themselves and they butcher their own meat, which I've had before. I've had wild game and whatnot, but that's I'm not in the business of butchering. I have to hire a butcher, and so that's the kind of individual I am. I hire individuals. I don't do too much myself or whatever in that regard to butchering my own meat. Because, most of the butchers are firearm carriers and I pay them. Okay, it's like this, I pay them for the meat. If I were to be a say I wanted to have wild deer to eat, well, then I would have to hire a butcher that sells wild deer, and that butcher owns a firearm, which then kills that wild deer for him to sell me that meat, which in turn makes him cash, which he needs to trade for other goods, like whatever he wants. Okay, like say he doesn't want any guns anymore, he just wants anything. Okay, that's their business, is to sell me the meat or whatever, and I eat meat or whatever. But I don't eat too much meat, but I was just using it as an analogy. 90% of traders lose money. You know, it's like, how you lose money is like the volatility or whatever. And being it's either you're going to make you're trying to go too quick or trying to go too late or whatever. You got to be the top. You got to be listening to get to. It's real volatile. Look at what they did with those people on Robinhood or whatever. I don't even know the specifics on it, but I know it's quite volatile to a certain degree to be a trader or whatever, especially if you don't have too much capital. Like, you got to have quite a bit of capital, but you can also do like smaller trades and stuff like that and all that. So there's big money in trading or whatever to invest into stocks. But you also, believe it or not, you have to have people that buy stocks. I mean, buy like the food or whatever. Like, say you're a commodity trader and you buy stocks like cereal or something. okay, or whatever. I don't know what this is, but maybe I should go to Google. But say you